Now this is just fantastic. Father Schulis also knew this couple named, I forget their last name, Bolesław and Anna. They are in their early 90s or late 80s, and they are still in complete operating condition. They are gracious hosts. They've been farming this land forever, and they were just as gracious as can be, and they were trying to fix up their youngest son with Janine. Then you have a very pretty young lady. My youngest son is very hardworking. You know, well, we got to go back to the States. But again, this was one of the wonderful things. It just happened. This was not planned. I had nothing to do with this. This just happened. Father Wdzydze managed to make it happen so we could meet this wonderful old Kashubian couple. They wanted to feed it. We'd already eaten once, twice that day. They have good, giving hearts, and I'm just proud to be one of them. Please, next. The World Meeting of Kashubians. I'm wearing my World Cup Meeting of Kashubians. Sherry is wearing hers. It doesn't really sound like a whole lot because it's kind of like, you know, like what, the Grand Parade of Aardvarks or something like that. But it began in 1999 to celebrate Kashubian language and culture. It's held in a different Kashubian city every year. And if you are a Kashubian who lives in Kashubia, it is a really big deal. Every local of the Kashubian Pomeranian organization lines up wearing their full Kashubian gear, playing their instruments as loud as they can, and trying to show up all the other Kashubians. And people are lined up along the route. There are TV stations, radio stations. Some of our group became media stars, I'm told. And we're whisked off to deal with meet with the mayor. We're a pretty big deal. Followed by long speeches, and those speeches were long, and especially when you don't know the language. But when you see the locals groaning, you know it's pretty bad. And a Holy Mass, which was nice. The bishop was presiding. Apparently the congregation was laughing, but we were all out in the open sun. You know what's bad? When the altar boys come bringing boxes of bottled water and passing, no, they're not asking for collections, they're passing you bottled water to drink during the Mass. Up to 1,000, 10,000 people attend every year, and this year, the lovely city of Wdzydze, I need another beer, is also the site of a Kashubian culture museum, which made it all the more special. Next, please. One of the greatest moments, probably the greatest moment for me of all times, we're marching with our banner, which is proudly displayed in the Polish Museum on the wall. It says Kashubians of North America. It has a Canadian flag in honor of Canadian Kashubians like Chris. It has an American flag and the Kashubian griffin in the middle, our hometowns, and that's me and Rick carrying it. They all of a sudden started playing When the Saints Go Marching In. I never knew it was such a big hit in Poland. And of course, as the Americans we are, we start singing, and I don't even know all the words. Oh, when the, you know, I don't. And we just say, man, we are really putting on a fine show. How often are these Kashubian people going to come to World Kashubian Day and see, you know, like 16 Polacks marching with a banner, singing, oh, when the Saints come marching in at the top of their lungs in English. That was fantastic.
And people were waving at us from the rooftops and just, oh, making us feel so special.
No, and some of us even got a very special kind of admirer. Next, please. Oh, this is Mina Shemud. This is how seriously taken. This is the organization I belong to. These dudes are playing their hearts out, and they're playing as loud as they can to drown out the other guys. Next, please. Oh God, the interminable Mass. God bless the bishop. At least he kept the homily short and funny, I guess. Please, next. The market. Part of the World Kashubian Day is where they have a market where they sell Kashubian goods. Here are some Kashubian dolls that they are selling. They sell Kashubian books, Kashubian clothes, Kashubian handcrafts. And I got a picture of this later on. This delectable thing called Kashubian Snuff. Get to that in a second. You're going over there. You better get ready. You know, where are the other ones that go? They're all snuff heads. And it doesn't matter if you're a girl. The girls are snuff heads too. Next, please. And here they are looking for umbrellas and clothes. This is about as Kashubian as you're going to get. I guess next would be okay. And leave it to Fran. She found some Kashubian bikers. Or maybe they found her. I never asked. But this is just a sign to me, you know, seeing the Kashubian bikers is that, you know, it's not like it's some exotic ethnic thing that Kashubians wear Kashubian clothes all the time and eat Kashubian. No, they're just people like us. And some of them are bikers. Who knew? Next, please. And this is an example of the museum. This is the sort of house our Kashubian ancestors might have lived in if they were richer than most of our Kashubian ancestors. A real Kashubian hut would probably have a dirt floor, wouldn't have some nice furniture and stuff like that. But you can walk into this place and just feel the history, which is something you can't do no matter how many books you read or people you talk to, or even illustrated lectures by people who run their mouth all the time. Next, please. The mad Kashubian dancing women. The second or third time I was coming to Kashubia, my dear friend Lynn England said, "Beware the crazy Kashubian dancing women." You said that, Lynn. And I said, Lynn, I am the proud descendant of generations full of crazed Kashubian dancing women. But I found them, and here they are. Wearing their bright colors. They get to dress a lot more colorfully than the guys do. But the neat thing about World Kashubian Day is we saw one guy who was holding a poster that said, Kashubian of Scotland. We're everywhere. Next, please. Next, please. The SS Baltic Beauty. After we went on the World Kashubian Day, we double-timed it back to Gdansk by about 4 o'clock to go on this beautiful sailing ship called the Baltic Beauty. Gdansk attracts sailing ships. They have Baltic sail every year, and Gdansk is an important location. I was on the Baltic Beauty 2 years ago, had a wonderful cruise on the, it was supposed to be a wonderful 2-hour cruise on the Baltic Sea. Yeah, that's right, a 2-hour cruise. We bailed onto the ship. It was still nice out, wasn't it? Yeah. And we thought, this is going to be fun. And I'm all the more excited because I've been on this sailing ship before. The captain is a nut. He plays the accordion. He used to have a singing dog named August. You know, this is just going to be one of the highlights of the trip. Next, please, Sherry. Sit right back and you'll hear the tale. Mary looks a little quizzical. Paul is ready to go. Janine is in high spirits. Sue is smiling. It's nice out. We're going to sail out of the port of Gdansk, out into the Bay of Gdansk, not all the way out into the Baltic Sea, and enjoy the salt air and the snapping of sails. Next, please. The weather started getting rough, and I think that's Fran contemplating all the clouds that she sees. This is not going to end well, folks. Next, please. The tiny ship was tossed. Mary's got her jacket on. Paula's got her jacket on. Janine's still toughening it out. Sue is still smiling, and Fran is smiling because she's wearing her Kashubian button. When the captain found out that Fran was also a sailboat captain, he invited her down into the hold to drink alcohol with Malgorzata and Eddie and Kamil and me. We're all sitting down there drinking shots and chasing him down with Beck's beer, while basically, go ahead.
Well, we're all sitting there freezing and wet and cold and wanting to go home.
And the wind's blowing, and they're not going to let us out of the port. And, you know...
And the boat was going slower on the way back during all this rain because the captain wanted to make sure that we got our money's worth.
Next, please. Oh, I moved the slide because I moved that over to your part because the captain is just nuts. He's crazier than hell. And he was drunk as a lord by the time we got back, so he literally didn't care. I didn't either. I feel vaguely bad about this whole thing. But it's something that people will remember, right, Sherry? Okay, a couple more days, July 3rd and July 4th. Next, please. Malbork Castle, biggest castle in Europe. Granted, it doesn't have the granite parapets that you throw boiling oil from, but it is huge. It is beautiful. It was built by the Teutonic Knights. It's beautiful today. This is what, next please, it looked like back in 1945 when the Germans and the Russians got done with it. It took years to put it back into something approaching its usual shape. And if you find yourself in Kashubia, you must go see Malbork. It is, the castle in Bitów is nice. This is the real deal. Next, please. This is like one of the rooms in the castle. Look at how beautifully lit it was, and it dates back to the 1400s. Next, please. There's another shot, I think, of the castle interior. Beautiful frescoes on the wall, explaining mythological and biblical stories that we can only guess at. And you just wander around with your mouth open going, oh. The next slide, I think, is rather more practical. Indoor plumbing. This is one of several toilets that they have in Malbork Castle. They're situated in the towers. They empty over the moat. Every time you use the facilities, you are contributing to the defense of the castle. And this has got to be 15th, 16th century. These people got it. You know, if the smell didn't get you the typhoid, it would. Next, please. We also got a chance to visit the city of Kartuzy, a monastery town south and west of Gdansk. This is a Carthusian monastery, hence the name Kartuzy. And you'll notice that the roof of the monastery church is shaped like a casket, so that the monks could remember that from the dust they came, and to the dust they would return. This monastery goes back to about the 13th century also. It's hard for an American to comprehend that this stuff is like 800 years old. And our country hasn't turned 300 yet. Next, please. Here is the wonderful castle of Bitów, and I wish that we had a picture of what we did there. We had a wonderful group dinner in the castle restaurant and talked about ourselves and talked about each other. The city of Bitów is, of course, Winona's sister city. We didn't get to spend enough time there. It's a wonderful place. The castle is wonderful, but if you had to pick one castle, I definitely say Malbork. Definitely go to Malbork. Next, please. This is the cathedral at Pelplin, which also goes back to the 12th century. And looks like that might be Jean wandering around, or is it, I don't know. My eyes are fading. You get, next, please. And this is Mary and Janine's ancestral town of Duza Cerwica. Beautiful little church, beautiful little cemetery, and it just So much of our trip was spent seeing beautiful little churches, beautiful little cemeteries. If you were lucky, the priest was there, or the priest was in the vicinity. That was good. The priest was always happy to let us in, welcome us, show us around the church. If the priest was not there, then this was a problem. We'll get to that in a second. But
are the flowers real?
yes, ma'am.
They are.
The Polish, and correct me if I'm wrong, are even crazier, far crazier about cemeteries than are Americans. They have shops where you can buy flowers right outside the cemeteries. You can buy lamps. You can buy candle holders. And there's a big business. Any big cemetery, the one in Kartuzy, had at least 2 flower shops right outside the gates of the cemetery. So yeah, they are real. They are all real.
There were always people, I mean, the cemeteries were just magnificent. And there were always people in the cemeteries attending to the grave sites, and most of the time it was family, relatives, family taking care of things. And they had lit candles, and the cemeteries were just so special. I can't say, that's why, to me, in my home, cemeteries were so prominent, because they were the thing that stuck out in my mind so much. And whoever thought that this group of people from the United States would make their part of the tour wanting to be cemeteries, you know? And we were just absolutely fascinated with it, just to find people, the names of our families that we knew and that we wanted to connect with, but also because the cemeteries were so beautiful. They were just beautiful.
And we eventually got to know the names of everybody's extended family. So it's saying, you know, hey, Fran, caught you a couple Nooks and some Lipinskis over here. You say, well, I got you a Stoltman, Joe.
Well, like the Knopic name that you saw here earlier, that was another name.
Yeah, so that was part of our trip. Next, please. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. I know you're happy to hear that. Why don't we just go? Oh yeah, Malgorzata offers snuff. That's going to be good. Next, please. Rikovo. What can we say about Rikovo? If only our colleague Riko could be here. Another genuine high point of the entire trip, the homeland of the home territory of the Wątki-Krakowskis. And God knows there are plenty of them left over in Rikovo. Next, please. Rick was really the MVP of the trip. It's a shame he can't be here because he's a people person. There's never a dull moment around him. He's always bursting out with good ideas. And for somebody who talks as much as he does, and he does, he listens and he pays attention. And he talks about it with you afterwards. Just out of the blue, Rick found out on a genealogy site that he had a cousin named Edmund von Chamier Gliszczynski, who lived in Gliszno, Wielke. They corresponded, and we didn't, up until the last second. You hear anything from Edmund yet? No. Then all of a sudden, we found out we were invited to the Gliszczynski summer house. This is the guy's summer house. He lives in Germany most of the year. Next, please. And here he is. He invited the whole busload of us over to his house where he had prepared this wonderful dinner with appetizers and sweets and desserts and vodka. And he personally grilled chicken and pork on the grill for us. I couldn't decide which I liked better. So I'd have chicken and pork, and nope, no clear decision. Chicken and pork, nope, still pushing it. Chicken and pork, oh, come on. I thought I was going to explode. And he didn't hardly speak a word of English. And he and Rick just kept hugging each other the entire time. But to me, again, this is the essence of being, yeah, sure, we're stingy and we can squeeze a nickel until it screams for mercy and we hold grudges and all of that. but we met so many wonderfully open-hearted people who were just so delighted to see us and did everything they could to make our trip as wonderful as it can be. And this guy, you know, just went all out for us. And it just happened out of a clear blue sky because Rick dropped this guy an email. And there's Kathy and Connie looking at it like, has he done grilling the pork yet? Next. Again, the table is just groaning with food and booze and desserts and beer and stuff like that. And this guy couldn't pick us out of a police lineup. And he did all of this for us. Okay, next please. The Solidarity Museum, or as I like to think of it, one of my proudest aspects of being a Polish American, a Kashubian Polish American, is Gdansk is where Soviet-style communism started to die. It started to die right here in the Gdansk shipyards. And when I stay at the Gdansk Stare Miasto, I never pick the old town view. I always pick the shipyard view because I can wake up in the morning and wave goodbye-bye to the USSR. Next, please. This is the shipyard. Next, please. More of the shipyards. And the sad thing is that they are very underused now. It's kind of like gone out of style. They refurbish ships in Gdansk. They don't build them anymore like they did in the good old communist days. Next, please. Fran and Riko's most excellent trip. We almost had a catastrophe on our trip. We get out to Borzyszkowy, which is Fran and Rick's ancestral village. They know it has a beautiful church. They know it has at least 2 huge cemeteries. It's on the far perimeter of as far as we can go. And even if it was open, we could only spend like 10 minutes there. No priest. We were hosed. It was not, you know, and what could you do? I just remember how happy Fran was. Rick was elated. But this is what Malgorzata did. She hired not even a cabbie. A cabbie would have cost an arm and a leg. She called a transport company. And she got Fran and Rick out to Borzyszkowy, where they found the priest and got the red carpet treatment and got to take cemetery pictures until their eyes popped out of their heads, because that's how Malgorzata operates. It was just something really bad that turned into something really great. And you got to spend a lot more time there than you would have if we had gotten to have it on the bus. So many things happened right on the trip, just out of accident. It's impossible to believe. I think our ancestors were watching over us. Next, please. And this is the Borzyszkowy Cemetery. I think Fran sent me about 74 pictures that she took there. Next, please. And then it was time to go to Hel. H-E-L. Hel, it's 1 L, not 2, is a tourist trap fishing village on the tip of a peninsula sticking out into the Baltic Sea. Any of you ever been to Wisconsin Dells? It's kind of like the Polish version of Wisconsin Dells. You know, see boats, see animals, buy stuff. And it's absolutely wonderful. It was a perfect way to end our trip to Kashubia. We're aboard the good ship Opal, but half of the fun is saying that you went to Hel. Next, please. This is Hel Beach. It actually looks like Milwaukee. Okay, next. And finally, just along the way, just because, you know, for all the wonderful people we met, all the wonderful things we saw and did, you know, we had some really wonderful people, made some lifelong friendships along the trip. You know, riding on the bus and pointing out goofy stuff out the window, and just being part of this all together. And I want to end with that little aspect of it. Next, please. First of all, our bus. Our wonderful bus. There was one day when the bus broke down and we were riding on like a, I don't know, 60-seat Cadillac bus. So big it couldn't get into some of the villages that we were visiting. It was just like riding, like I said, a Cadillac of buses, but this bus got us everywhere we needed to go, and I have nothing but fond memories of it. Next, please. Storks. The national bird of Poland is the eagle, and I understand why that is. But after about a week on the bus, you want to vote for the storks. The storks love to set up their nests on electric poles, as if the juice just would not get through unless the Polish storks did their job by setting up nests on there. And Fran would go especially nuts whenever we, oh gee Fritz, look, another stork. Next please. Fun times on the back of the bus. There was a back of the bus group. I think Fran got that picture too. That's me and Eddie sitting next to each other, and Rick, and we passed the time on the bus as amusingly as we could, no matter how long some of the rides may have gotten. Next please. Kashubian Snuff. You can see that's Connie and Sue, and Sue doesn't look particularly delighted. Kashubians like to carry their snuff in little hollow horns, and they will tip some on your hand. You do this, you do that, and the next thing that you do is you just let out this mighty sneeze. Unless you get used to the stuff, and you start to like it, and then you start to look for ways of importing it to the United States. So you're going to be in for that. Next, please. Tuskegee Cemetery. I like this picture particularly because sometimes we found some gravestones that were just so interesting, you just wanted to know the life story of the people beneath that stone. It's not all just filling out graphs and entering names on lists or filling out charts. We never forgot for a moment that we were walking the footsteps of our ancestors, of people who had loves and hatreds and passions just like ours, who were going like we're going to be going someday. It was part of a ritual. And I was really glad to be a part of that. Maybe a couple more slides after that, and I'm about it. Okay, next please. Malgorzata and Eddie at the cemetery. Eddie's a Kashubian, Malgorzata is not. My Kashubian brother and sister, I think it counts as my Kashubian nephew. The best part of my trips, all of my trips, was getting to meet and befriend and befriended by Malgorzata and Eddie. And there may be one more, or maybe not. Let's see what we got next. More cemetery pictures. This is one that Sherry showed you at the beginning. I don't know how many electrons died while we were out roaming the cemeteries, and now I kind of miss it. Next, please. The highway to hell. There's Sherry with Uncle Lee. Next, please. There's Jean and Connie. They're sisters. One lives in Seattle and one lives in Chicago. Next, please. The Kashubian Countryside. What can't you say about the Kashubian Countryside? My God, we saw a lot of the Kashubian Countryside. And our favorite game towards the end of the trip was making up dumb guesses for whatever that crop was growing out there. Soybeans. Yeah, that was about, I think Eddie kind of convinced us once that it was tobacco. Okay, next please. The Riverside at Gdansk. Next please. And Dziękuję. Thank you very much.